Such a pleasure to be back in Munich. And for me, it's the fourth edition in a row that I have the privilege of moderating sessions for panel discussions for Air Cargo Europe. And today we have an important topic for discussion, and it's on artificial intelligence. What is in it for air cargo? I believe we also managed to gather a credible set of industry speakers, and we will attempt to make some effort to understand artificial intelligence and what is in it for air cargo. I remember this was a topic that when I was asked to put together panels for Air Cargo Europe, was thinking about what is that topic which is of interest to us. And I think by then all of us were using some form of artificial intelligence because of ChatGPT. But then we wanted to go beyond in terms of what is in it for as air cargo industry plays. It's just not about software alone, but also hardware. I think most of us probably must have used the Ghibli art. So when you like 5 years back, when you do a search on a Google, it's a simple search and you get a result. Today, you are using artificial intelligence tools to generate an AI-generated photograph. I don't know how many of us really think about what actually goes behind in terms of power consumption. What is the data center that powering such search? I think it is just amazing to see the power of AI, unlike some of the other technology trends that we have seen over a period of time, like blockchain and things like that. This is something that we have seen ever since the launch of it in less than 2 years ago, ChatGPT. I think there's been a phenomenal spike in terms of how we use AI for our own consumptions. Today, a lot of it actually is dependent on large language models. But as AI improves, you will see, or as quantum computing becomes a part of technology innovations across different companies, particularly think about it, you can't use LLMs for pharmaceutical product discovery. You can't use them you need quantum computing, you need quantitative language models. And it's not just about the software part of it. There is a lot of hardware that goes on. I just happened to see a recent video on CNBC about the ASML's new EUV chip-making machine, which is a 400 million worth machine. I know some of our own colleagues in the air freight industry are carrying those in pieces in, I think, about 747, one machine, coming from different parts of the world. So, as I said, today's discussion is in two parts. First portion is about the subject that we have always been talking about, digital transformation of air cargo industry. Are we still going after the low-hanging fruits of some of those, or are we going beyond that? I would like to hear from each one of you in terms of what is digitalization, does that mean for you, what is AI? And then we need cargo commodities coming in from, whether it is a semiconductors, whether it is the equipment, EUV machines meant for fab industry, making chips, maybe supporting massive data centers that are coming across in different parts of the world. So that's where the business lies in. So with that note, let me begin some of the common questions to all of you. How do you define digitalization within your area of work and in the context of the organization that you represent? That's Frankfurt Airport.
So, good morning to everyone. Thank you for being here, first of all. I think the first steps that we have in digitalization is to have a mindset, a digital mindset. And this is really important to track in around all the organizations that is going to take part of this digitalization journey. Being an airport, being the infrastructure, you have all the infrastructure, but you have the people who is going to use this infrastructure, and they have now to work digital. So the mindset of having now the digital data and not having the papers that everybody was used to have is very difficult first to obtain and to build up. So this is one of the challenges that I can remember. I remember the first days of telexes and emails changed. The change for telex to email, where I received the telex and everything was printed and everybody received a copy of the telex. And then we started working with emails and how people were writing emails at that time, like a telex. And now we have to trust the digital data that is important for us to analyze this data and work with the similar data. So in the airport of Frankfurt, we invested already in a joint venture with Crozier called Elevate in order to make the solutions for the entire community. And talking about community, air cargo communities are very important to be integrated to go the step on the digital mindset. So for me, the first step that we all have to agree is to create a digital mindset among the entire supply chain. That's my main message.
Thanks, Denis. Sami, I'm trying to get perspectives first from the airport. You have Frankfurt Airport, an established player in the airport infrastructure in the world. And Sami represents the new airport, the new age airport that is coming in, the Gen Z airport that we call. Perhaps what is digitalization for you and within the area of work that you do in King Salman?
Digitalization is a very important part of our infrastructure. As you know, we're building one of the biggest projects in the region. And for it all to work efficiently and seamlessly, we need to ensure that all the technologies that we put into place and all infrastructure that we build works in the best way possible and the most efficient way possible. And the only way we see that happening is through AI and using it in the way it's supposed to be used. And teaching everyone in the industry, at the airport and all our colleagues how to use it, how to benefit out of it, and how to progress with it.
Okay, let me get the cargo handler on board. Guillaume, what is digitalization for you and how does it happen in a dnata network?
Thank you very much. I think Denis and Sami already set the scene nicely, fully aligned with the mindset, the vision aspect, extremely important. But then you translate all of those ingredients into a strategy. And then, because that's what we do on the ground, you need to start executing the strategy. And when it comes to artificial intelligence, I like to see it as a journey. And you may have the vision of a very fancy AI solution, driven solution that we use day to day using ChatGPT or any LLM type of things, indeed. But how do you translate that into your day in, day out job? I'm sure you want to do it as well, right? So why are you not doing it? Question mark. And maybe why you joined the panel discussion today. And I think this is exactly what we realize. Frustration after frustration. Why not? And then you start and you start to connect with the industry. And of course, we are part of an ecosystem. So it's not an issue that we have in silo. We have to think about it through the ecosystem. And as a ground handler, our core business is to actually connect all the stakeholders and make any place seamless. That's why airport want us to be there, or airline want us to be with us to make it seamless. And the glue of all of that, and for me, the enabler in terms of how you execute your strategy, and you mentioned it, Reji, in your intro speech, is data. So it sounds really kind of basic as a statement, but when you start looking at it, then you start actually seeing data architecture. And I will ask, how much have you planned in your budget in terms of data architecture? Because everyone speaks about drones or MHS or nice, actually, automated vehicle. But have you started by investing in something that you don't see every day that sits actually backstage, which is potentially very expensive and very difficult to explain to your shareholder? But that's ground zero. And once you have your data architecture, then you start to think about, okay, how do I record data? And this is a new chapter of data recording within the ecosystem, and recording something that makes sense for everyone that brings you to the next step, data modeling and data governance. And then you start build all of that, and maybe you can reach actually the next step, which is computation. But computation will never happen within the ecosystem if we have all started recording garbage in a wrong way without governance. And you continue like that. It's a 4-step journey: data recording, data computation, then machine learning, then AI. So where are we in the industry? I think we are still struggling to record data in a comprehensive way to connect. I think all the initiatives such as One Record and all the protocol are making sense, but they are not addressing the fundamental issue of capability in terms of data architecture. And definitely without this, you can try as much as you can. You will always spin around because this is ground zero, as I said. But I think we will come back on that for us. We've done that journey, dnata. We've invested a lot on data architecture for a couple of years. We have an amazing capability. We have a data governance tool. We use Colibra as a software, for instance. And this is really amazing how it helps us to speak the same language within actually the group, and also start discussing with each ecosystem about what is a kilo, what is a man-hour, what is a milestone, and then Cargo IQ help, by the way. And then, of course, you need to get rid of your legacy system, because if you actually can't record your data real time, or if your architecture is monolithic, and I'm not the techie guy here, I just got to know about it. I think that's also very important in terms of leadership. As a leader, you need to be absolutely hands-on and just learn about it. And because without this, you can't actually motivate and manage up and get funds from your shareholder. So that's where we are. We are still working hard on data. And because we've done a lot of work, we start having now fun a bit implementing drones in our warehouse inventory. But I will come back on this later.
Yeah, data is the new oil. That's some expression that we have heard. But the problem is that you can't just put that oil into your car or vehicle, and you need to process that oil to be used. So data has to be, as you say, garbage in, garbage out. So you need data that is to be clean, and then you will have data that can be used, insightful data. Oliver, what is your idea of digitalization? Lufthansa Cargo has been an early player in the digital activities.
Well, thank you very much, Reji, for the question, and good morning to everyone. Just a short comment on the digital mindset. I think what I observe, it comes in two forms. You have the technology lovers who just are in love with with the technology behind it, yeah, and then sometimes get a little bit carried away with solutions and so on. And at some point, you ask yourself, what is the problem we're trying to solve with the solution? And then also you have the pragmatic, staff members who like to think about use cases, about the end results and so on, but then don't have that long-term vision. And I think it's important to bring those two people together, because in the end it's about improving the customer experience and also making processes more efficient. Yeah? And at Lufthansa Cargo, as you said, we've been, I can comfortably say, we have devoted a lot of our time and resources and attention to digitalization in the past. Now looking ahead, I think we also have time to talk about the technology, the what, but as much as technology is important, is also psychology. Getting the people behind digitalization and AI and automation. And what works for us at Lufthansa Cargo is we are operating in an AI and automation community, and you can call it community, circle, roundtable, whatever you like, it doesn't matter, but create that pull in the organization that AI is a relief, is improving processes, and basically the three major areas we are focusing on is data, yeah, as you mentioned, making sense of data. It's second, also automation, obviously, making things run automatically. And the third one, I will keep to myself for the time being. I will disclose it later.
Okay, thanks. Hashim, what is your idea of digitalization as a leader in Saudia Cargo, and what does it mean to Saudia Cargo?
I think first of all, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure to be in Germany. I think what Oliver and the colleagues have touched on is the mindset of changing the mindset of people. Nobody argues the value of AI. It's too soon, but it's so promising to understand the value of AI. I think one of the main things about it is to transform the data into insight. And this is going to be the key players how to actually build on the data. As you have mentioned, unfortunately, the sector and the ecosystem is fragmented. So we need to have integration with all the key players in order for us to have probable and valuable data can be turned into insight to help us with the decision making. To touch on the change management aspect of it, and we have faced that, we need to explain carefully that AI is not here to replace people. It's basically to optimize their performance and to make sure that we have access to different sources, and the machine learning the sky is the limit. And one of those things as an element of it to add on it is the customer experience and operational excellence. These are the main things that we are investing on to make sure that we work and operate in different time zones. You will not have customer excellence working over the clouds or the clock, but now with AI, you can ensure that all over the clock you have people and agents that can help and support and address all of the complaints, all the queries, all the asks 24/7. And all of this is going to be a promising future, but we need to be careful. We need to invest in data. We need to invest in AI, but we need to strengthen our cybersecurity. We need to mitigate all of the risk that comes with it because, you cannot invest in one element and let go of the other elements.
Moritz, I'm coming to you. I'm sure that you will give a different spin to the idea of digitalization. This is a topic that we've been talking about for several years. What is digitalization for you?
Thanks, Reji, and good morning, everyone. Yeah, we've had the pleasure of sitting here through the different hype cycles of blockchain and the likes. I think this one is different, in all honesty. If we look at what is possible through AI already today, and you mentioned ChatGPT as just kind of a very personal use case for pretty much anyone and everyone, it's massive. Obviously, I'm a bit of an odd one out here. We're a digital company. We don't move things. We don't have warehouses. We don't operate anything that isn't digital. And so for us, this has always been on the forefront. We look at it in two different kind of ways. We look at the internal use cases and how we can make the team, the company, a better company through the usage of AI. And I would maybe, and this is going to be a little provocative, question whether it's not here to also take some people out. We as a company very much look at efficiency, and we're still a fast-growing company. We hire a lot of people, and one of the things we do internally, very much so now, is ask our managers to make use cases around, do we need another head here, or can some of the work that we're looking to hire and to fulfill through someone that we hire into the company actually be done through AI? And so I don't think it's going to replace people as is, but I think it's going to be infringing on people that don't actually want to go with the times and don't want to actually utilize it to the extent possible. And so I think that's one thing that we see. The other part, obviously, is kind of the externally facing, customer-facing bit of cargo.one and the way we operate. And I think it's a bit an interesting development that we've seen. I think over the past years, there's been a big push into a standardizing of data. And I agree with you need to have your data in place to be able to do anything, and you need to have the structure in place. But what we see is that while as a platform, we try to push people onto the internet, onto a web app, because we needed them in a structured place, we needed them to input data, to then retrieve something, to then get something back. We're now seeing that's not needed anymore, because large language models are very good at interpreting smaller data sets, not massive data sets. So if we look at massive kind of databases, not a use case. But if we look at an email, as unstructured as it may be, an LLM is incredibly good at parsing it and understanding what it means. And so we don't actually need this very structured data input anymore for specific use cases. We can deploy AI. And I think in this industry in particular, where we look at connecting so many players in an ecosystem, where really all we do is kind of connect different players, the use case is massive. And using AI to do some of that standardization work could be a massive game changer.
I want to ask all of you, in terms of the technology adoption and digitalization that we have been talking about, do you all feel that there is much better clarity on what we want to achieve? And is that clarity bringing in efficiency and profitability into your business?
Thank you very much. Very good question, very practical. And the answer for us is yes. We started by defining a strategy that is definitely covering clearly the execution part as well. And it's all about the data recording aspect. So in terms of very specific use cases, is you accept a shipment as a ground handling agent. You need to make sure on acceptance that you can weigh the in picture so you know what you have, and this is digitally recorded. Sounds potentially very easy, but everyone here knows how difficult it is. And then, of course, you need to have a good capability to record that real time. So in terms of very specific example, we are working with partner, of course. We are also working with university. And I have two examples. So Speed Cargo company, very well-known company, I think, in the industry. We've implemented, I think, maybe the only one station under production in Singapore, where we effectively, in production, actually accept using their technology integrated into our processes, which is working nice. It's for Singapore a workable solution. And now we look at scalability and standardization. But also, as you know, we've implemented drones to do warehouse inventory. That was another story. So working with Carnegie Mellon University in the US, having actually an MOU with them. Back in 2016, we got students working on a project using drones. And just to cut a long story short, from 2018 onward till 2025, we worked together with them with a lot of iteration, because they are a technology company, but they don't know our domain. And we are ground handler, and we don't know their domain. So we got to learn a lot about it, which, by the way, has triggered a lot of thought and also changes when it comes to the way you procure actually this type of solution. Because procurement, the way you procure your investment in machine learning and AI-driven solution or computer vision solution for us needs to change. You can't just do it the whole way. Sending your RFI and then screening, it's an iteration. But on this, we've co-developed that solution, and you need both appetite and hunger from us as a ground handler, investing time, effort, for them as well as a startup, fund seeding and finding solution. And I think we see this more and more. I think the company like cargo.one and others started very fast with this type of iteration as well. And that has a good impact. So specifically, we see this as a very specific and tangible target. We started actually harvesting some benefits. And we see this as an opportunity for all the chain downstream, upstream, to increase their value proposition, to your point. So to make sure we have ROI at the end, return on investment, for or within the ecosystem.
Oliver, tangible benefits?
Yeah, I would like to take it up and say I would oppose. I would say it's not that clear. On the one hand, my lawyer answer to it, I'm not a lawyer, would be it depends. Yeah? Because on the one hand, yeah, there's massive opportunity and the technology is unique and everybody loves it and so on, and that's all fair. On the other hand, and you mentioned it, the data we operate with is still based on the 70s, 80s, the messaging, yeah, and that's the basis that we need in order to build also solid models and automation on top of it. And there we really have to work on it. And there are questions: how do I integrate it into the legacy systems? Am I really as fast with the pilot? What kind of data do I need, and do I get it fast? So lots of questions that need to be addressed and will be addressed and answered differently within the individual industry players. So that's why I think 50% yes, more clarity, 50% no. It's as unclear as it was yesterday.
So therefore, my question to rest of you is there a gap between what we want and what we are doing?
Definitely, because I'm just jumping on the sequence, but it's really like the follow of the thought here is really clear that we have a lot of initiatives, but they're not going together. And we have also not shown into the customers quick wins that could guide us to other steps, to guide us for more clarity, to guide us for more introductions of implementations and piloting of things. So each one of us, I might say, are doing something based on some technology, trying to solve some problems, but the problem is common everywhere. And to put this in a common platform and try to give up our way of doing individually, but doing collectively toward the customer and toward transparency is very essential, and is very will give a lot of clarity to all of us in which direction we can go with technology.
Hashim?
Just to continue on the same discussion, I think when we talk about clarity, I think we all agree on the what and the why. Why we need AI and what is the purpose, and we're chasing it. I think the how is still not clear yet. We're not, and technology is, we cannot have the old times where you have a strategic plan for 10, 15 years that you're trying to have. Technology is moving in a faster pace than we can. What we are trying to do, we had 3 years digital transformation plan, but we revisit this annually. Because in 12 months, the technology has changed, the advancement has changed. You have to always be keen to introduce new technologies, and don't be afraid to make changes. We have to be, I think the key of the game is agility. If you are agile enough to make sure that change direction, because the how, as you have mentioned, is not clear yet.
So all of us are doing a lot of catch-up. Sami, you have a very clean slate in terms of what you want built for Riyadh's new airport. So therefore, probably you don't have too much of legacy systems to deal with.
Yes, as you mentioned, we're still at the beginning of building the airports. We're at the beginning of building the airports. We understand the importance of it. Efficiency and speed is key for any business to grow, regardless of what type of business. So we have all this in mind when we're building and we're constructing and bringing all this technology in for the new airport. And we're waiting for the gentleman to pave the way for us.
Yeah.
Yes, and we believe that when we get to that stage, we will have the best solution possible.
Moritz, what is your reading? I really want you to be provocative and then really challenge the status quo, because you deal with airlines, forwarders. A lot of people that I talk to say that there are certain players within the value chain probably do not really want the digitalization the way that we would want. How do you see in terms of what we want and what we have?
Yeah, so I think first I would say we obviously have an unfair advantage because we're not built on legacy. As I said, we don't have to move anything. There's no like AI hitting reality in a warehouse, and so it's very different for us than it is for others. I think to answer your question, I think the way I would think about this is there is some opaqueness in the industry that's been there deliberately by players that have profited of that opaqueness. Right? If I'm someone that is just, I don't know, facilitating a process that's pretty opaque and I make money of it, great. I think that's going to go away. There's no way that in this day and age that's going to be a sustainable business model going forward. And I think especially on the freight forwarder side, we've actually seen this. There's consolidation happening at the top, but also with smaller players having a harder time if they're not delivering the same customer value proposition. And customers' expectations have changed massively, not just with AI. I mean, we're all on our phones. We order Ubers. We all order our food, our groceries. And then as soon as we go into our work space, things just go back 20 years in time and we sit in front of a blue screen, oftentimes still, actually. And so that's, yeah, and so that's just sad, right? And there's then the question of efficiency. There's the question of is that still serving customers' needs, and will customers still come to us? But then there's the third question, which is talent as well. I think getting the right talent into our companies also means that if we give them a blue screen, they'll likely not love it if at home they're using Netflix and they're on their iPhones. And so I think it's all of these things combined. If we're not going with the times, as with any industry, I think it's going to be difficult to compete. But I also acknowledge that I think there are a lot of challenges once the theory hits the tarmac and hits reality to bring these things into play.
Yeah, I know we are already 30 minutes into the discussion. We are still discussing the status quo of our industry and probably where do we want to go. Is there anyone in the panel who thinks that AI is still a buzzword. I hope that's an emphatic no. If there is a counter argument, please.
It's a massive buzzword. Like, I'd say it's a buzzword. Is it sustainable? I'd say yes.
It's a very generic term. But I just want to encore, because I understand the skepticism within the panel as well, but I just want to encore once more time my point in terms of tangible benefits and, I mean, how we do it and where we go. We are, for dnata, very clear. And I want to take two examples. Dubai, of course, but then people will say, yeah, but that's Dubai. So let's take Amsterdam. In Amsterdam, we've just invested a lot on a brand new state-of-the-art facility with a data control center, landside management system, all AI-driven. The effort of that is huge, immense. I mean, you start in Frankfurt looking at it. We do it in Dubai since a couple of years, so we have a lot of knowledge. But of course, doing it in a kind of diverse environment such as Amsterdam is a huge effort. But it's not easy. But the way forward is extremely clear. It has to be downstream, upstream, create data touchpoint, create capability, connect with the airport community system, and make it happen. We are now staggering actually our launch. This is happening as we speak. This is not told. This is happening as we speak. And we invite everyone to come and share and discuss. But we know where to go. And I think we've learned the hard way a lot using air cargo system in Dubai already and launching it elsewhere. And now with Amsterdam and soon elsewhere. I mean, what needs to be done and the lesson learned. So, but the shareholder vision and support and confidence to invest in next generation capability is absolutely paramount. And without this, you don't survive anywhere, because I don't think we will survive any company. You know, we were discussing with an Inditex company type of things. They are defining themselves as a logistic company doing retail. I mean, that's what's going to happen, the Kodak situation of things, as we all have in mind. I mean, this is just a clear situation that is panning out. And so for me, I'm very clear about where we should be. It's not always easy, and definitely less easy when we have a community which is very diverse with a lot of legacy. But there is no question, can we do something leveraging our legacy system? No, you cannot. You need microservices type of things, and you need to move forward from your legacy system. You need to invest for that. But I just want to be very clear. So it's a buzzword that needs to be really defined properly. But also, we've learned now exactly where we need to go. And I think we need this type of statement and efforts from everyone to make it happen more and more. So then we reach a point where actually we have synchronicity happening. And I'm very confident it's going to happen. We have no other choice anyway.
I know I value skepticism as a value. I think we need to be skeptic to challenge the status quo. We have more counterpoints coming in. Come on, Oliver.
This time I'm 100% with you, Guillaume. So also in Frankfurt, yeah, we are rebuilding our legacy hub, putting 600 million or more than that into rebuilding the hub, the legacy hub. And yes, a lot of it is going into brick and mortar, but also we're rethinking the way we operate it. Yeah? The one example being AGVs running on the tarmac instead of persons driving it. And this is just one small example. On the customer side, we are trying to innovate, going from unstructured emails directly into a booking. So absolutely with you. This is we need this kind of movement and the traction going forward.
But I see, like an example, some people will buy a Ferrari and park the Ferrari in the parking lot and say, for all the people, well, we can drive the Ferrari, but they are not going to check if everybody has their driver license, if the Ferrari is put in the proper is in for the proper road, can be in Britain, different sides, can be in Germany, different side of the road, there are different rules, different signage. So I think that there must be a lot of implementation and a lot of taking up with all the people is going to be involved, because AI is going to influence not only me in my office, but the truck driver, the guys on the reception, the roads, everything has to be connected. So it doesn't, I'm afraid of having a Ferrari there, and I invested for this Ferrari, but nobody finds the key and nobody has to drive the Ferrari. So that's why I think that for buying Ferraris, I'm always there, but we have to teach everyone to how to drive, how to find out how safe and how much cost was on that Ferrari that's partnered with us. This should be really clear and communicated to all stakeholders in this industry.
Hashim and Sami, you want to come in with your comments, because you have to be on top, because the country that you come from are actually placing artificial intelligence technology, several billions of dollars going into investment and setting up data centers, including UAE. So, what is the vision that you have?
No argument there. As you have mentioned, the transformation in the country is massive when it comes to the digital transformation and AI. Saudia Cargo is no exception of that transformation move. We want to be ahead of the game. As you have mentioned early in the game, it's a journey. You have to sign up for it. Probably use Denis' car and the Ferrari that he used to get to that journey. But I think it requires a lot of commitment, because it's not going to be easy, as we have mentioned all of the time. It might have faced some hiccups, but you have to be able to see the vision at the end of the day and ensure that whatever you sign up for is basically the rewarding as much as you can. Plus, I would add, we need the right personnel, the right capability to build it from now on. We just started, we just recruited a couple of people, new generation who is majoring in AI. I did not know that there was a major in the universities yet. But now people are actually specializing in AI, and this will help us to develop, and it's a machine learning development. So it will take us time to get there, but there is no argument how important it is.
Sami?
It's definitely a necessity. It's not an option anymore. It's the way forward, and it's how we develop. It's like everything else in the past. When you said there was emails just came out, that was new. That was at that time, that was the AI of the time. And this is now something new that needs to be adapted in any business for more efficiency, more speed and everything. And in Saudi Arabia, majority of the citizens there are under 30, and they're all young generations that are learning this stuff and need this kind of technology to develop the country even further. We're just paving the road for the new generation. And we have to make sure that we pave it in the best way possible to move forward.
Okay, I think one of the concerns as AI becomes much more pervasive across different industries, one of the concerns was about the loss of job. I think it's many tech company CEOs have said, including the latest one was NVIDIA CEO saying that you don't lose jobs to AI, but then you will lose jobs to the person who uses AI. I think that's the most important thing. Let me move into the kilos that would come through AI applications to the bellies and the main deck capacities of our air freight industry. I want to start with the airlines, because they potentially see the first signs of the new set of cargo that is coming from AI-supported industries. Oliver, semiconductors.
Yeah, semiconductors. As you can see here in Munich, it's one of our focus industries, and obviously it shouldn't come as a surprise. It's all around us. With regards to the requirements that there are, it's split. I would say there's also fab supplements, spare parts for production to keep them maintained and running, which is more or less what we've been doing over the last decades. But then you have these microchips, chemicals, whatever it is, which have really specific requirements, and you need to have answers for those requirements. And in parts we do with the features that we have in place, temp control and so on. But also sometimes things that we need to work on, and to make it as modular as possible with add-on features that we would make it sellable as well in an efficient manner. So the demand is there, eastbound, westbound, left, right, and center, and we are working very hard to find the right answers to those requirements.
What is the biggest demand from your customers on some of these commodities? And according to you, what's the biggest challenge for you?
So the biggest demand is temp and I would say shock absorption, and that's also the biggest challenge. Not the temp part. We've been doing it for a while. Shock absorption and the special handling requirements, especially in my shop that I'm responsible for. We need to find clever answers.
Hashim, are you carrying a lots of chips?
I cannot tell you how many specifically. But yes, there is a huge demand. It's coming in. And as we have mentioned, Oliver, greatly, we had to be agile to be able to accommodate all of the new regulation changes, all of the safety and security. But this is not only the airline's job. We have to work with the ground handling. We have to work with the airport to be accommodating, the warehouses. So it's a collective effort from the entire industry. And we're working closely with our partners across the globe to make sure that we deliver basically all of the needs according to highest standard available.
Do you see any kind of, I don't know whether you can quantify in terms of the growth in the cargo coming from the technology side of the business, from semiconductor to the other stuff that has to go along with it?
As a total number and percentage, we still have general cargo as the main one, but we show a lot of growth in different areas, especially when it comes from east to west. The chips and the semiconductor, the markets are very clear and the demand is very clear. We link it together. But to put a number on it, not right now, but for the last 2 years, we've seen a major growth basically from that region of the world to the major industrial cities.
My question to the cargo handler and the airports, how are you preparing? How are you building the infrastructure for a commodity, something like this that needs? It's also, there's a lot of volatility and then changes in the requirement from the customer. So how do you deal with something like this, and how do you build your infrastructure to support that kind of a growth in the semiconductor, in the technology space?
Taking this to the major hub in Europe, in Frankfurt, is really like you can only do this with talking extensively with all partners. That's why we initiated roadshows. We had a roadshow in India and roadshow in China last year. And I can tell you the extensive talks that we have there with over 200 people attending those shows show that the infrastructure had to be rebuilt, but sometimes transformed into adapters. So there is a plan of expansion in the airport of Frankfurt. There's a build of new areas in the airport of Frankfurt in our cargo master plan. But the base of this is digitalization to use that infrastructure much better than they're using. Because if you don't use the infrastructure well, is not going to represent anything else. It's like an empty building that nobody knows how to open the door. So we have really to start from the open the door, like selecting a way how the drivers are going to go in your facility. Then selecting a way and showing them how they're going to go and navigate your facility and how this is going to integrate the cargo handlers, the freight forwarders, and also the people working there, because we think only on the cargo handler, on the truck drivers, but it's also the people, the transport of these people and everything. So I see that only on these extensive communication platforms like roadshows, this event like this fair is the very good platform to start building the usage of AI and using of all technologies into the infrastructure to support all the growth and to support also the handle of it, and then have a common handling product. Because you see, in the case of e-commerce, there is no e-commerce handling code. So everybody's using a certain code and everybody's expecting a certain speed, but there is no common. And this no commonality made us all being struggling with something that the customer struggles much more because he has completely different levels of services. That's why, again, air cargo communities, exchanges are so important in these industries than ever.
Guillaume, are you seeing more high-tech cargo passing through your different terminals around the world? Particularly from UAE, because that's where a huge amount of investment going into data centers.
No, I think obviously we see those products actually going up and more. But I think at the end, and that's what we say in our mission statement, we are here to deliver the promises our customer make. So as a ground handler, we listen to airlines, airports, and of course shippers as well, what they would like to see. And we are constantly innovating. To be very specific, we work in a very blueprint-centric way, where we define the clear touch points and data touch point related to that. And we make it, feasible. And of course, we build the physical support, so warehouses and processes around. And of course, last but not least, we have to train our people. We discuss a lot about training. When it comes to data, we've launched a data literacy program. So we have defined 6 personas, for instance, the Shogun, the Ninja, and you name it, working with Datacom type of company. And we are training. This is a 260 people actually training plan, for instance, thinking about UAE. when it comes to a specific product temperature control, because new technology product or data center project, you will translate that physically in your warehouse with small shipments, urgent shipment, express shipment, temperature control shipment, white glove handling requirements, heavy, big engine, generator. So that's what we need to do, right? So being product centric and depending on the product, I've just touched on all of them that are actually being utilized for such industry. We make sure we have a relevant facility and relevant and meaningful processes. And for us, that means all of that translated into data, being a data-driven or becoming a data-driven organization, and being able to talk to our customer and partner in terms of data, how efficient we can be. So it's time of processing, number of ton or pieces per hour, traceability, and all of that. So working out on this, we see more and more of those requirements.
Sami, how optimistic are you about the tech space and the cargo that is coming from the technology sector, and then you're building a new airport there?
Yes, it's definitely growing, and we are aware of that. We have, as everyone else, we sit with all our stakeholders, the airlines, the cargo companies, even the manufacturers themselves, to understand their needs while constructing the actual airport. We put everything in mind when we're doing the master plan. So, for example, we're making sure that the roads, the networking, the technology put in there, all adapts the new AI developments that are happening, that can work with it. Not just for what's happening today, even it can work in future with new developments that are coming in the way. We are trying to make it as agile as possible, as flexible as possible. So yes, we do meet with everyone to ensure that we build the best product possible to serve the industry.
To all of you, how do you envision the future of air freight, given the increasing interplay of socio-political and technology trends that you see today?
I can go ahead. So, with regards to the geopolitical developments, I think I envision it that globalization, and we say that a lot, is not that it's changing, and it's changing really, really fast at the moment. So the trade lanes they are evolving very dynamically, and you have to respond to that. That's the volume side of things. I think with regards to our industry, it's going to be more transparent and more seamless. In the past, I think we have, as an industry, we've been excellent in planning. That's what we can do, but we've been quite bad at steering. And with these capabilities that we talk about now for the last 15 minutes, I think we can become much, much better in an integrated way to steer the business. And that's how I envision the future.
Who will steer the business?
I would say that we, as airport infrastructure, we can integrate all of this, because we are like the place where everything is happening, in the warehouse, parking the aircrafts and everything. So the integration of everything, and to have this integration strategy implementation is all about integration, because we have been doing silo work a lot of times, and these new technologies and this the volatile policies that we have make us to think more into the integration. How it's going to affect me now with the aircraft and everything. So that is really like the challenge that we have with COVID, the challenge that we have now show up, that we have to really work and collaborate and in check the dependencies that each industry has from each other, and work in cooperations as well. So we have different levels that we have to place in our industry to make things really happen and to support our customers. Because our customer is the one who is buying something and wanted to have the thing in order in their warehouses. So we have really to work integrative on that solution.
Just to second the point that Denis have made, I don't think it's a matter who's going to steer the way. It's collectively we have to drive this ecosystem. And it will not come, as you have mentioned greatly, the pandemic was a great example that we work together. You will achieve. We have changed the course of how things are done. If you look at it now, how business was run before and after, it's completely different, unrecognizable to a certain degree. And if you wait for 2 more years with the addition of the aircraft, with the technologies in the airport and the development of the state-of-art facilities, the sky's the limit.
So my take on this is, and I think I'm just reading the couple of months of tariff gates we've seen. I think you saw March spike, right? People got ready because something may happen in April. Then April was a bit potentially bumpy. And then maybe you look at May volume-wise, and you see May is actually surging again. So maybe I'm reading that despite any local, regional statements, the world is that connected. I think the globalization has a long and bright future ahead. And any change to really actually stop the globalization phenomenon and go back to a local, regional things will need drastic stop for a long time. And I think the way the world tick make it very difficult to happen. So I'm quite confident when it comes to our industry. You see people holding for a couple of weeks, but then the stock are empty again, and they release the pressure again, and it goes everywhere. That brings me to so who is steering it? The world is ticking on its own, I will say. And sometimes it goes left, sometimes it goes right. And if you are in the right part of the world, you can see through actually the volume going through your gateway, which is good. And I think in any country, you should look at the major logistic cluster and potentially secondary airport. But if I'm looking at some key cluster, multimodal is definitely required. Of course, something we steer in Dubai, something we see in Miami. I don't want to be Dubai-centric here. Miami, we see that in Silkway Alat, cargo village to come, and other place. It has to connect rail, it has to connect sea. And we developed a data-driven solution. Again, very practical and pragmatic, tangible solution we've implemented that help us to do sea air as a product. And I think everyone will agree that freight forwarders started to sell sea air as a backup solution, as a response to any issues. But now they actually started organizing themselves, having sea air division. And they are selling it as a product. And I think all the industry now start to see it as a reliable product. And again, where we need to be responsive and implement processes that work systematically, again, data-driven. And I will say, of course, predicting what's going to happen will be great, right? But for that, what do you need? Historical data, and not 18 months of data. You need 7 years of data, so get your data ready. Because I think you have a lot of opportunity to build planning with that. It will never happen as planned, but because you've built the planning, you will be able to respond better.
Sami, your vision of how you envision the future of freight in this current world?
Well, it's never going to go away.
Question.
It's never going to go away. There's always going to be a demand for freight, and there's always going to be a future for it. We just have to make sure that we are ready to face new challenges coming, and we'll always have challenges. And wherever we build it to be able to handle any change that comes in the future, what's coming in now, and we work together to make sure that we do it together, obviously, because it's teamwork. Like was mentioned, it's the airport connects everyone. The airline has to bring in, they have to be efficient. Turnaround has to be fast. Cargo, it's all one ecosystem that has to work, and we all have to work in a way where we make sure that it's sustainable and adaptive to change.
Moritz?
Yeah, I'm also a big believer in globalization and don't think that's going to go away. I can't see Germans assemble their computers, to be honest. And so if they can't, then they'll have to get it from somewhere. And if they have to get it from somewhere, we'll have global supply chains. Where I agree with Oliver and the others is we'll see more erratic changes and we'll need to be more adaptive to these changes. And I think one way, and probably the main means of doing that, is having technology in place to help us communicate more synchronously, to remove friction from processes that requires data, but it requires systems, first and foremost, that are open in the first place to communicate. And that's the way to then adapt and to drive change in these ever-changing environments.
I actually forgot to ask one question which is important. How much, are you recruiting more people, or are you using a lot of AI agents to do your coding?
So we are recruiting more people, but we are taking a much more deliberate stance on whom and where. And it's a commonly known practice within cargo.one now that there are jobs that we won't recruit for anymore. There are customer service agents, for example, that won't be recruited in the same role that we recruited them in 2 years ago. The customer service team, though, has evolved a lot. They're now data managers to feed our AIs to be able to deliver good solutions to our customers, right? And so those roles evolve, and those people that do evolve with them have a really interesting journey ahead of them. But that also means that we don't hire the same roles everywhere anymore, and we make it a requirement for our team to make those cases.
Taking 2 questions from the audience. Please raise your hand, identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Jabir Salam. I'm from Alpha Cargo Services in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. At the start of the panel, there was talk about the messaging standards and the data, the quality of data. So I have only one question, which is, in about 6 months from now, we have an IATA initiative of One Record coming up. From a ground handling perspective and an airline perspective, as a forwarder, what I'd like to know is, if the forwarders sign up and contribute, how is it that my ground handling will get better, and what can I expect more from an airline?
Thank you very much for the question. So when it comes to dnata, using some vendor that are CDMP and one record capable, we can say we are capable. But when you look end to end, and thank you very much for that question, you realize actually that you have middle miles, the kind of messages broker today that needs to be also capable, and it's all of us that needs to connect actually the dots. So when it comes to a ground handling agent, we are for dnata one record capable, but if you look at all the segments of the chain, you may have actually a weak link in the middle that needs to be addressed. And I think maybe this is where and why we are not taking off, because we are still dependent on very few stakeholders that potentially are creating some bottleneck. Why not exploring a direct API integration? Will we actually unleash and enable our data capability? Just back to my point earlier, getting the raw data real time, and then we are able to connect and do whatever we have to do per ecosystem. Will actually the full supply chain or the legacy stakeholder are not yet ready. We need to win our freedom for that.
And from an airline perspective, One Record is absolutely essential. As we said, data is the basis to build all these nice cases on top of it. Today, it's not very good. With One Record, it's going to be much better. So we have an interest to do it. We are also discussing very closely with our core handling system to implement it, to be able to be ready then. And we're going to drive efficiency initiatives on the basis of One Record. So that's our utmost priority, to be ready.
Hi there, Will Waters from the magazine Cargo, Airports and Airline Services. I've heard not quite a lot about the benefits and potential of AI, not many specific examples about where it's already being used tangibly in air cargo to deliver real results. Moritz mentioned one example there in terms of customer service agents, but I wonder if anyone else can give any concrete examples of where they're actually using AI, where it's actually got tangible, measurable results, and how to then move that forward and scale that up.
I can give you a couple of things that we are trying right now. As you have mentioned, some of the customer experience is already in place, but using it for operational excellence as well. Having that element of AI, an AI agent to explain to you the regulation and the guidelines of different IATA guidelines and the safety and security codes. We used to have people go to the 2 or 3 people in the organization to keep asking them about, and this will take a couple of hours or days sometimes to respond to it. Now, you don't have to talk to anyone. You can just go into the system, the internal system, and you can ask your questions regarding what's regulation, what's formula, what's safety, what's code that you need to carry for. And you will have an answer right away for that. Even internally within the policies and the procedure of the guidelines, you used to memorize volumes of books that you have to ensure to response questions. Now, you really have people that keep updating those kind of volumes and have people to ask and drive for those questions. And this is one element of that we have experiments. Of course, there is elements of data and technology and prediction, analyzing the market changes. Instead of having a full team of doing their analysis, you will have one team with the people expert in AI to extract the data to ensure them it's from data to insight.
So thank you for the question. 3 specific examples. One in Singapore, using the speed cargo technology, where we every day actually, except for airlines who contracted this for their shipments, and then get all the digital load plan, so we can optimize ULD planning and gain space for them to increase their load factor. So that's one happening in production in Singapore. Another one in Dubai, so we use drones to do warehouse inventory. And before, you got our people who had to take a cherry picker and go, through the rackings one after the other, note down the references, and then go into the system and key in actually all those data. Now this is all automated. Someone is launching the drone flight that has been actually recorded, and the drone is going through all the racking. We don't need cherry picker anymore. And the data are instantly after the flight, even offline, sent to the data platform. And we can see now inventory in the system with a picture. And of course, because we need to do physical inventory as often as the airline wants, this is a huge benefit. Third example, in Amsterdam, we do it as well in Dubai, but in Amsterdam, it's going to go next level in terms of slot management. So slot is an issue. Tracking, actually docking is always a challenge, especially when it comes to the Friday afternoon or the big days. With the slot management software we are implementing, we have AI algorithm that actually optimize the slot availability and allocate slot depending on booking that are being made. And we can, with that, actually increase the number of visits per day. And truck dock slot, yeah, exactly. But with this AI at the back end that really calculates, and all the data you generate, you can see who is performing well, who is not, then report back to the customer and work continuously on improving actually the visits. So effectively that is happening in Amsterdam as we speak, and something we do as well in Dubai. So 3 very specific examples. Maybe last one, custom border inspection in Dallas, working with custom border inspection when it comes to e-commerce screening activity, also something we've developed.
Just to cheese on Amsterdam, we are implementing in Frankfurt a smart pickup process, which are completely digital for the slot booking. This is already implemented in the Cargo City South, and we are going to start implementing also in other partners in the Cargo City North. So this gives completely data for us to practically say to the driver, now you're welcome, your time slot is this, and if you want to rebook, you rebook in this different time, and this data is all collected so that in the future we can predict and plan much better for all the cargo handlers when they have their rush hours, when they have the lower times, and also which facilities they need, in which people they need to operate those deliveries and those pickups.
Is there anyone else in the audience? Oh, Oliver.
Just because I didn't disclose the third topic, it goes into a similar direction. It's knowledge management. Yeah, if we only knew how much we know, and then 2 other examples, it's channeling automatically in customer service to the right service center, and then the third one would be very practical, automated rebooking.
I must make a disclosure here. I didn't employ AI to generate any of the questions that I prepared for the panel. Secondly, I think if all of us were to read Charles Darwin's Origin of Species again, perhaps the thoughts that, at least that's what I thought about, is it's hard not to think about, is AI the next species? Not born, but trained. Not evolved, but updated. What rules will apply? Adaptation, evolution, and the last but not least, is it survival of the most efficient? I think with this note, I'd like to end this conversation. As I go to bed every day, perhaps one of the thoughts as I read more and more about AI and how AI is deployed in different parts of our life, human society, different areas of business, AI can be very precise to military operations. We have seen the tragedies in the human society in different parts of the world. We still grapple with problems of human society. Empathy is a human value. As someone said, we need a change in the mindset to adopt some of these new technologies. But I don't know, I always think, and that's the skeptic mind that I have, how do we change our mindset and use some of these technologies to make life and world better for us and for the next generation that we are building. With that note, I'd like to thank my panel members. There are several more questions to be asked, debated, discussed. I'd like to thank all of you. It's been a fascinating discussion this morning. Thank you very much. Put your hands together for the panel members.